Children are being tortured by withered tentacle arms while they're screaming in agony. And this show is supposed to be rated for 7-year-olds. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to take a fully spoilery look at Transformers EarthSpark Last Hope. Episode pair either 23 and 24 or 26 and 27, depending on how much of the green stuff you are forking over to Paramount Plus. And sweet, merciful Hays Code! There are so many issues with this 2-episode season finale. I genuinely thought going in that I was just going to get one video out of this. 4. You're getting 4 videos on the finale. Let's not bury the lead and get the obviously bad part out there first. There have been several moments in the show when I question the rating it gets. TV7, what you will find if you go to the Amazon page, just seemed a bit too low for a show that had explicitly shown murder and cannibalism on screen, with a dead frame of a Cybertronian being harvested for Energon while hanging from the ceiling of a dungeon. But this episode took those dark and violent images and cranked it up to 11. Then there is the same twisted black and white protagonist-centered morality that plagued the 2-episode event home, with Twitch presenting on screen as a hypocrite of revolting proportions, and the usual plot issues which I could forgive because this is a kids show, if said kids show didn't have delusions of grandeur and depth. The good, sweet mercy, the combat scenes are amazingly well choreographed. This show is better than Transformers Prime in that aspect, and Prime was good. The action directors know what they are doing. The special effects are amazing. The artistic directors know exactly what tools they have to work with. They understand how to use the exact level of stylization the art style allows to get the maximum emotional resonance out of the background set. And just like in previous episodes, there was a moment when I just straight out laughed. There was a beautifully funny joke in there. It was not too much, not too little. It just fit perfectly. Now, we're getting into the spoiler section. If you don't want to hear the spoilers, you can go check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my latest audiobook. You can listen hands-free while driving. Humans Are Weird, We Took a Vote, now available in an author-read audiobook format on Audible. That's author-read. I did this. I'm not a professional voice actor. Be warned, you get what you pay for. Apple Play, Google Books, Walmart's Kobo by Rakuten, and as many platforms as there are out there. Hopefully soon out on Audible. It's not quite through the clearance process there yet. Now, I'm going to get into the spoilers. And first thing I want to get out of the way, boy and howdy was I wrong. If you watched my last episode's analysis, I went on and on about the cleverness of who the writers brought in to be the big bad of the season. Because you see, from the last scene of the last episode, I thought that they were bringing in Quintus Prime himself, the ghost of a Prime who created the horrors of the Deep Dwellers and left those Deep Dwellers behind to haunt the underbelly of Earth, the semi-deific or demonic being who took the responsibility for the world and dropped it on the shoulders of a handful of child soldiers, most of whom were quite literally born yesterday. I was delighted by what I perceived to be this choice. Having Quintus Prime, the source of the protagonist's powers and the source of their beloved family, being exposed as manipulative and calculatingly cold-sparked would have been a plot twist that was actually worthy of the quality of the writing that went into Warzone. It would have been every bit as clever as the writers thought they were in the episode pair home. See, if Quentin Prime showed up in person, let's face it, they are very arrogant and self-righteous characters, Twitch and hashtag, would have a lot of deep thinking to do. Getting jolted out of, we are the chosen and of the wise and ancient Prime mentality, and into a more pragmatic, a manipulative political leader needed tools, so he created us mindset, might have made them think about how some of the narrow-minded arrogance they have evidenced throughout the series. Like how when they forced their brother to cut off his oldest friend because said friend dared to express the slightest resentment of a genocidal imperial invasion of his planet. These Maltobots are a group of privileged, pampered, first world children who are in the arrogance of their plentiful resources and ignorance casting harsh and biting judgments on anyone who had to make choices in different situations. They blindly assume that their gift of life and power from Quintus Prime were given in strict benevolence, and I was so eager to see them question that. Quintus Prime came to Earth and created a species, the Deep Dwellers, that are vampires, feeding off Cybertronians. Maybe that wasn't his intention, but that is what it is. And the show has also made a huge point about cannibalizing Cybertronians for Energon being a thing that only evil bad guys do. They did this by showing the drained body of a cannibalized Cybertronian on screen to make a point of it. Again, in a show rated for 7-year-olds. But Quintus Prime, who created a race of vampires, is a font of goodness and totally unproblematic gifts in the perspective of the main characters, which is quite the contrast. And even if Quintus Prime created the Deep Dwellers accidentally, that still makes him extremely questionable. From when the surprise character showed up at the end of the last episode, from the shape of the body, from the face on the front, from the general teardrop overall outline, it looked like the Quintessens had been the ones enslaving the Sharkticons, which would have added a whole nother layer to this. That looked like a Quintesson body. So then we would have another creation of Quintus Prime, metaphorically feeding off of another cybernetic species. And let's not forget that it was Quintus Prime who actually made the weapon that Mandroid would be able to turn into the Energon Harvester. Mandroid really only activated what he found in the depths of that cave. So a large majority of the evil that we see presented on the screen here is a direct or indirect result of whatever Quintus Prime was doing on Earth so long ago. However, the show keeps presenting Quintus as some kind of benevolent angelic being. Now, given that it is from the perspective of his children that we see him, this could have been done very well. If these privileged and rather self-righteous Maltobots were forced to face down the reality of Quintus Prime, the being who granted them life and gifted them with power, as the sort of cold-sparked scientist who would unleash creatures like the Deep Dwellers out of curiosity or malice, that would be a fantastic story, writing worthy of the greatest pretensions of Warzone. But nope, I was wrong. Instead of having to face the fact that their creator, and therefore their own motivations, might be a tad sus, our heroes are facing down a purely evil villain who very conveniently takes every step, makes every comically evil decision, so that any and all measures are justified in fighting him. Never mind that Shockwave straight up admitted to working with the genocidal Agent Croft, and Shockwave only turned on her because she betrayed him. Shockwave gets a pass to do as he likes because it suits the current needs of the protagonist. This is either grotesque protagonist-centered morality or just bad writing. Never mind that Shockwave is almost certainly responsible for the mind control trips that are currently taking Optimus and Megatron out of the equation. The show presents the fact that the protagonists need help to fight the objectively evil, the one-dimensionally evil bad guy, so it completely justifies freeing whoever they need to fight him. You don't have to agonize over the morality of loosing a bunch of war criminals who have been shown to be heedless of the value of human life on the civilian population if you are in the process of fighting a genocidal maniac. Lesser of two evils and all that. How very, very convenient for our protagonists. It's almost as if the writers couldn't figure out any way to have them face this issue. So, here we are with the greater evil. A warped and twisted Mandroid returned from his trip into deep space. And again, this is supposed to be a show that is meant to be suitable for 7-year-olds. We see a truly horrible creature, warped and distorted. His arms are withered tentacles with mouths full of teeth in his hands. His face is withered and flabby like rotting flesh. His body is kept alive by a machine designed to be terrible to look upon. The camera angles and the lighting are very, very deliberately designed to magnify the body horror of Mandroid. This show is supposed to be rated for 7-year-olds. 7! Look, I try not to be too prudish about this kind of stuff. I watched The Neverending Story as a child. I watched Willow, and I know a lot of my contemporaries watched The Labyrinth. I can't say for sure that this episode is worse than those children's shows. Let's not mention Dark Crystal. But this show is at least as bad. And there's no question that what is seen on screen is meant to be horrible. It is meant to cause nightmares. Now, if this were just Amazon bungling the rating, that is one thing. But the problem is that this show was very, very specifically rated for and advertised to a younger audience than Transformers Prime. That's the first thing we knew about this show. It will be marketed towards a younger audience. And this stuff is the stuff of nightmares. I would have slight misgivings if these scenes were in a TV-14 show rated for 14-year-olds and above, but I probably wouldn't advise parents against letting their 13 or 14-year-olds watch it. This episode? Right on screen, a pair of children are held up by long, withered tentacle arms and tortured. Their little bodies writhe on the screen as they scream in agony while their torturer sneers at them. Then, Agent Croft meets her doom. After a prolonged sequence where her flesh is literally turning black and rotting away, she is burned alive from the inside out as energy consumes her body. You watch her eyeballs explode and the camera zooms in on the process as her body incinerates and she's screaming in agony the entire time. This is a show for 7-year-olds. During the final fight, one of the main child characters is brutally beaten. Now, this happens a lot in adventure cartoons, but for shows aimed at younger children, the artists mitigate this by not showing the damage that these beatdowns cause, something that EarthSpark has made a point to do until now. Twitch gets the ever-loving Energon beaten out of her, and not only do we witness each hit land in slow motion, seeing her pain up close and personal, we watch her eye, her optics, shatter under the blow. It is visceral. It is brutal. It's a lot like the scene in the cartoon Invincible where Omni-Man is beating the snot out of his son. It is, in short, entirely inappropriate for a show aimed at 7-year-olds. I cannot recommend this show for any child under, 12, not 7-year-olds. Parents, do not let your 7-year-olds watch this show. The visuals are just too disturbing. To cap this off, the villain sneers at his lackeys he tells them to show the children mercy. And in addition to watching their parents get eaten by Sharkticons, we get to watch the children get eaten by Sharkticons. This at least involved the one thing that made me laugh in the episode. When the Sharkticons came on screen, I just started laughing. There was something about their design. It was so startling, I stopped the episode. I took a screenshot of the Sharkticons and sent it to a friend with no context. All I told my friend was that these things made me feel a feeling I didn't understand, and would my friend please give me their reaction. Her reaction was a freaked out reminder that she had issues with frogs, and why would I show her that? Then the light clicked on over my head and I burst out laughing again. Yes, frogs. I don't know who was responsible for designing this generation of Sharkticons, but I feel like they were told to make them scary, and that whoever was given that design also had my friend's issues with frogs. See, if you go in knowing that you are looking at Sharkticons, very much shark-themed robots, it is clear that you are looking at shark features. Those are teeth, those are tails, etc., and so on. However, if you do not have that Sharkticon context, then these creatures are clearly frogs. They have distinctly frog-shaped eyes in both position and expression and in the skin above their eyes. Their teeth bulge out under their noses like frog throats under their mouths when closed. They have long, strong, hoppy legs. Yes, sirree, this generation of Sharkticons is going down in history as Frarks, a horrible frog-shark hybrid that makes you burst out laughing the moment you see them, which is not necessarily bad. Transformers is famous for weird designs, and even the G1 Sharkticons were weird looking. I really think the Sharkticon design works well in the context of the overall animation choices for the show. So let's end on that note, a funny note, a happy note. Because what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Am I being too prudish about the violence, the gore, the torture, the cannibalism in the show? Would you allow a 7-year-old you are responsible for to watch a scene where a tentacle monster of rotting flesh tortures screaming children before feeding them to horrible frog sharks? I really am interested to hear what you think on this one. Please leave a comment below. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers. Humans are weird. We took a vote. The second book of Human Absurdity is now available in audiobook format. Everywhere where audiobooks are sold. Barnes & Noble, Google Play, Kobo by Rakuten, and of course, Audible and Amazon. So you can now get a copy of the audiobook format of all 70,000 words of Human Absurdity.